Road, and has a beautiful frame picture of the Headley farm just down the road on the opposite side. And Mrs. Headley's daughter married a stover, and they permanently they live there now. Correct?
Mrs. Headley's daughter lives in this house here.
Right.
And
Right. Your mom and dad. Then you can take
my grandmother and grandfather lived in this home when they first came to South Brunswick. This is the first farm they had in South Brunswick.
They were farmers.
Right.
And
this is my grandmother and grandfather.
Grandmother and grandfather.
Yeah.
And would you know your grandmother's maiden name?
Ever.
Okay.
Everett.
I think so.
And was she from around here?
Yes.
She was from Dayton, or?
I don't know exactly, but in this area.
In the area.
Yes.
And they built this home, or they bought this home?
It was a farm they bought.
And you know?
Who owned it before? I don't know. But I think they sold it to Headley's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they located here, do you know which year, or?
I do not know that. I know my father was born up where Amway is now.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Mack Farm. That's where my father was born.
Okay.
And my father would be 100 years old this year. He passed away in 1989. He was 93.
Okay.
My father was one of 5 children. He was the 4th one in line.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 older brothers and an older sister.
And their names?
The older brother's name was Everett. The next brother was Ellison. Next was a sister named Julia. And then my father, and the youngest was Celia Errickson. They all married except Celia. Celia never married. Celia always lived home. After they sold the farm where the Headleys lived, they moved to the brick house at 5 Corners. And that's where they lived till they passed. My grandmother and grandfather passed away in 1951. One passed in 51, one 52, I think it was.
That brick home was located?
Where Fat Eddie's was.
Okay.
Right. That was where they lived till they passed away.
Okay, that was an inn before they lived in it?
What was that?
An inn? That was an inn before they moved?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were your grandparents born here also?
They were born, my grandfather was born in Englishtown, but my grandmother, I do not know where she was born, to tell you the truth. Let's see.
Now, where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school? I went to school in Dayton School. And I went in the school that was in front of the school that's there now. Mm-hmm. And I can remember in the 3rd grade, we took our books and stuff and walked across the plank to the new school when I was in the 3rd grade.
Mm.
That was, I think that school was in 1929, I think, something like that.
And how many were in your class at that time?
In the 30s, 32, 34.
Do you remember any of the names that went to school with you, or have you forgotten them, or?
Oh, let's see, Robert Sigel, you probably know him.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
In fact, he's about the same age as I am. He's, I think, 1 month younger than I am. Mm-hmm. Wilbur died, but you don't know. He's passed away. You probably know him. Clarence died.
Clarence died, yes.
That would
he was
be
a police officer over in
Clarence.
Cambridge.
No.
Was he? Or
He was lived on He owned the farm where ShopRite is now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would be Clarence would be Wilbur's brother, younger brother. He's quite a bit younger than I am. Yeah.
Are your brothers living? Celia living?
One brother's living, and the other brother died in '82. I'm the oldest of three boys.
And Everett was the insurance man?
That's right. He was in my father's, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He was my father's oldest brother. Okay. Yeah. I was born, well, I don't know. You probably know where Eddie and Augie Swartz lived.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was born, in that house. It's torn down only maybe 3-4 years now. But that's all our family was born in that house.
Now, did they farm that area also?
Yeah, my father was a farmer. I mean, he was a tenant farmer, though. He didn't own that farm.
Okay.
He was
Well, do you know who did?
Wesley Applegate.
It's a name we've heard.
I'll tell you where he lived. He lived where Krieger lived?
Yes, the old house there.
The old house, that's where, well, Wesley Applegate owned a lot. He owned where they're building the houses now,
Mm-hmm.
in Summerfield.
Mm-hmm.
He owned that. See, Arch Michon lived there for years, but he always rented it.
Oh.
He owned this one down here,
Mhm.
where Weatherhill is,
Mm-hmm.
but he rented that.
Well,
My father was only a tenant farmer. He didn't own no farm.
You're giving us some good history of these
Yes,
farms,
yes.
because that's, we haven't been able to, some of the people have
Well,
been
when
asking
people ask
questions
me
about
where
the
they
farms.
want to go, they got to tell me whose farm they. Yeah.
Now, Ellison, did you say is
That's
he a
right.
farmer also?
No, I can never remember him. He always worked for the county. He was
Okay.
worked in a road department for the county, and then in later years, he was in charge of Johnson Park. He was, the one that took care of the maintenance in Johnson Park.
Very good.
And Julia, that would be my father's sister. She married a Davison, and they lived in Cranberry. In fact, there's a road named after my uncle, Ansel Davison Road. I don't know if you know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's just outside of Cranberry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Now, did you
then was my father. Then Celia was the youngest one, never got married.
Mm-hmm.
She was always a school teacher. She taught in Penn's Neck.
Okay.
That's up there by Penn's Neck Circle. It's
Right.
still there.
Right.
The school is still there, but it's something else now.
Mm-hmm.
She taught there for years.
And you remained a farmer, or?
Well, me? No, I went to school and learned about farming, and I knew I didn't want to be a farmer.
Aha.
It's a good life, though. Farming's a good life.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
Well,
a
I
gamble.
worked on a farm, but I was always a bread man or a milkman all my life.
Okay. And which milk company?
I worked for Creamerland. They were in New Brunswick. Now they're down in Florence, down by Burlington. And I worked for Fryhofer Bread Company.
Okay. 2 old names.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In fact, I first got out of high school. I had my own truck. Before I even went into service, I had my own truck selling Fryhofer products. And when I came out of the service, then I went to work for them. Out of Trenton. I worked out of Trenton.
And where did you go to high school?
Went to high school in New Brunswick. And
You went
kids nowadays would never believe this. But I went to school in New Brunswick High School. See, all the people in South Brunswick either went to New Brunswick, Jamesburg, or Princeton. Well, I went to New Brunswick. It was very crowded. They had 3 shifts. Well, naturally, we went on a bus, so we could only go up to the first and second shift. But when I went to senior high school, that would be 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. In other words, in one day I was in 3 different schools, and the last school was 10 blocks from the high school down Lord Sterling. I don't know if any of you know where that is.
Right.
In other words, there's a,
Beale Street.
that's right, A-Beale.
Right.
And right now there's like a soup kitchen right next door to it,
Right.
right in front of it like that.
Correct.
Well, I used to walk down there. That was my last class I'd ever go down there. You
They
tell
were
somebody that now, they'd say you was nuts. And
They
there
were
was
so
no bus.
crowded?
Huh?
They were so crowded they made you go to 3 different places in one day.
In one day, yeah. And you walked 10 blocks there and 10 blocks back. I mean, well, unless you had a buddy that had a car or something like that, you know. But that's the only, I mean, there was no public transportation or else. And you tell the kids that nowadays, they say you're nuts.
Yeah.
the old man's shooting off again.
Well, what goes around comes around. So we're right back in the same
Crowded
same state
schools,
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in, I was born in this house. I only lived here until I was about, well, less than 5 years old, about 5 years old. Then I moved up to the house next to the cemetery there, that double house, where, across from where the old post office used to be. And we lived there till 1930, about 34, when I started going to high school. That's how come I went to New Brunswick High School, because we moved to Deans. We lived down there on the corner of Road Hall Road and, well, it used to be a state road. It used to be George's Road, we call it now.
Used to be the main highway.
That's right. Well, John Shue lived on one corner, we lived on the other corner. Yeah. That's where I lived till, well, I went into service, and then when I come out of service, I got married, and I lived here. I've been here 51 years in this place.
Would you like to speak about your service? Your time in the service? You were drafted?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What year were you?
I wasn't involved here.
What year were you drafted?
1942.
Okay.
I was in for 3 years, 3 months, and 10 days.
That's something, everybody knows exactly how long they were in for.
I was in the Air Force, and compared to a lot of people, I had it good, but I was overseas for over 2 years, 26 months.
Europe?
Overseas. But all in all, I made out good. Yeah.
Where were you stationed in
I was in England, and France, and Germany. Well, most of the time when I was in the service, I was, especially overseas, there was in a crew that picked up airplanes that, well, in those days, the Air Force had what they call, well, fighter planes to escort the bombers over to Germany. Well, there was a big hassle all the time because they used to go too far and run out of gas. They used to have all kinds of tanks on them, tanks on each wing and the belly and so forth, but they still would miss, and they'd run out of fuel, and they would crash land these. And these were fighter planes, single engine, and it was our job to go pick them up wherever they were. It was very interesting.
Did they reassemble them or just?
Yeah, usually they weren't hurt too bad. Naturally, they wouldn't fly, but we used to take both wings off and take the prop off, and we could load them on a trailer and bring them back. But see, they would land in somebody's field or something like that. It was mud and so forth to contend with.
Right. Oh.
But
very interesting, right?
Oh yeah.
Interesting how to get them out and off. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's that,
Most of the crew, did they survive those?
well, see, there's only one person, a pilot. That's all that's in there. And most of the time, they, if they could find a field or something open, of course, they land in a tree or something. That's another story. But any open place, but it was interesting. So I consider myself pretty lucky, I'll tell you the truth.
A lot to figure out how to keep it from getting damaged more than it was, and to get it out of different places and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was big time, because I can remember being on Air Force bases. Them planes go off at daylight, and they're still going. In other words, the sky is full. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. So you've got some idea of how many airplanes you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And see, the idea was to have the fighter planes escort them so far, but they would make mistakes, you know.
Right.
Then when they were coming back, well, they wouldn't make it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you were discharged when the war was over, or?
Oh yeah. I had enough points that I got out pretty soon after the service, after I was over.
And that's how they discharged according to points. It was a point system.
Yeah.
According to days served, correct?
Not particularly according to what theater you were in. You got so much for each theater you were in. See, I got a few extras, see, because I was traveling all over.
You were in 3, right?
Yeah, but see, like when I was over in overseas, I was in 2 or 3 theaters where somebody that would not be in that kind of a job wouldn't be only maybe in 1, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So.
You moved around.
Oh yeah. But sometimes we were on the road 20 days at a time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But all in all, it wasn't too bad. My brother had it rough. My brother was in the infantry.
Now, which brother was this?
That's the one that died, Ken.
Did he die in the service?
No, he died in 1982. But he died of emphysema, I believe. And he's the one who lives on Mama Junction Road. I don't know who talked to me yesterday. But you talking to me yesterday?
Yes.
You thought I lived next
Yes.
to, well, that's where my sister-in-law lives.
Okay.
That's my sister-in-law lives there all by herself.
So he was in the infantry. Was he with Patton or the?
This I don't know. I don't know, but he had it pretty rough.
There too long, huh?
Oh yeah. He didn't get shot up though. But
Probably came pretty close a lot of
yeah,
times.
that's right. And my youngest brother was in the Marines.
Now that's which brother?
Bill
Bill.
William. Yeah, he lives in Metuchen. He's still alive. He's my youngest brother, but he's in bad shape. He can't hardly walk. But believe it or not, he drives a taxi.
Good for him.
He's 4 years younger than I am. He's 72 years old. He drives a taxi. He always tells me, come over, get a job driving a taxi. A lot of fun. I said, I can just picture it. He enjoys it though. He always worked on a railroad. He retired from the railroad.
What branch of the railroad was he in?
Of the railroad?
Yeah.
He was engineering.
Engineer?
Yeah. Well, he was a fireman, then he was an engineer.
So he was on the old coal train?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you who got him the job is Shonley and Carlisle. They're the ones that got him on. This was about wartime, see? And, so he got a job on a section gang out of Deans. I forget who he was working for on the Petrie bases, I think. And so I think it was Al Shonley. That would be Grant's father. He got him in, and so he had to be 21. So he signed a paper that he was 21. He was lucky he was 18.
They kind of did that back then.
Yeah.
But they didn't say too much, you know, because wasn't too many people like to shovel the coal, you know, especially during the war, because you know, the freight trains was big and long and
heavy.
They ate a lot of coal, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah. So when he come out of service, he went in the railroad again, and always Waverly,
Waverly Yards? Yeah.
Waverly Yard.
Mhm.
Always worked in the yard so that
Mhm.
he could have another job.
Mhm.
Always worked 2 jobs. Spend money like it was war.
Made it, but he spent it.
You made good money on the railroad, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
I spent 6.5 years of myself on the railroad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I know where Waverly Yards are and all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they always used to tease Bill, why you don't go on the road? Nah, he says, he used to go to Waverly Yard and you know, he could work a daytime job till about 2 o'clock and then be over there in time for the second shift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
He did it till he retired.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 2 sons?
I have 3 sons.
3 sons?
I have, well, Dave, you know Dave.
Yes,
He
very
worked
good.
for you.
Very nice guy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's my youngest son. Then you know Jim, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy works for the town.
No, Jim.
Yeah.
And I have Russ, he works for Sikorsky Aircraft.
Connecticut?
Yes.
Dave, Dave puts my back porch on.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he worked for you quite a while ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. Real good, nice person, and a very good carpenter. Yeah.
He married a girl with 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
No, 4 kids, and they had 1 since.
Oh, okay. I know he has 5 kids. Yeah. He
He's
lives
got
out in
5
Pennsylvania,
now.
right? He lives in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he lives Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's just it's near Doylestown. And I'll tell you, he married this girl with 4 kids, and the oldest one I forget, but it was about 14, something like that, and the youngest one was still in diapers. Then they were married a little while, and then they have another one, you know. But I take my hat off to him.
I do too.
He's doing good with him.
I do
Believe
too.
me.
Really, really nice.
He
person.
does. I couldn't do it.
I know.
I'll admit it.
It's tough when you have 5 kids in the house.
Well, he's got 2 in college now.
Uh-huh.
One's going to graduate college this year.
Very good.
Yeah. So.
Was your wife a Dayton person?
No, my wife came from Boundbrook.
Uh-huh.
I met her on a blind date. Well, I knowed her brother's girlfriend, and I met her on a blind date. We went to Atlantic City the first time.
Before it was casinos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When
yeah.
it was nights.
Before it was a gambling place.
Right.
This is quite a while ago. Yeah.
And what was her maiden name?
Stevenson. Yeah, let's see. I met her on the bread route. In fact, I served her aunt in South Boundbrook. So that's the way it went. I didn't get married till I got out of the service. Though I got married in 1945. My wife's away. That's why she's not here. She's away with Harriet Tarrant. Do anybody know Harriet?
Harriet Therian?
Tarrant. She lives across from Dayton School. They're on a
Yes, I know it. Yes.
bus trip.
Good for them.
Harriet's husband's passed away, and
Mm-hmm.
my wife likes to go, and they went on a trip. I'll tell you what, they went to visit the Applebee's. Do you know the Applebee's?
Yeah, they used to live down over here, right?
Yeah, well, they live in Florida now,
Right.
so they went to visit them, and then they took a tuck tour. I don't know. They ain't due home till this Thursday.
What do you remember about Dayton when you were a little boy?
This road wasn't like this.
That's for sure.
This road was gravel. Mama Junction Road was gravel. And I can remember when this was cement first. It was a big deal. This was a mile and an eighth or something like that, a tenth. And it was a 2-lane cement road. It was a big deal.
Do you recall which year, maybe?
You're asking a little too heavy here now. Let's see. I would be, I don't know. I would say about 28, 29, something like that. In that area.
That's close enough, sure.
In that area.
Do you remember anything about the stores in Dayton or the post
See, my
offices?
father, when he moved up by the cemetery, that's when my father, my uncle, and my grandfather started the second one in. they started a grocery store.
And one more time, the first store was where?
The first store, see, there's two stores up there. I don't know if you noticed in the corner.
Right.
Well, the first one was not there.
Okay.
The second one was where they started the grocery store. The one towards Cranberry.
Right.
And that's another thing I can remember. I don't know if anybody else ever told you about this. But this is when I'm real young. I'm living down on the farm there where I'm born. Now this place on the corner, this got on fire. I mean, this was a big fire. So my father brought all his kids up, and I can remember being in that brick house over there. Had a sun porch all on one side. I don't know if you remember. Fat Eddie changed it a little bit, closed it in so he could have.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can remember sitting in that window and watching the fire over there. And I think that's where somebody, a fireman from Cranberry, was killed too.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
I think the fireman's name was, if I'm not mistaken, was Wyckoff, I think. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But something about a chimney fell on him or something.
Yeah, I think somebody else mentioned something about that fire.
But I can remember seeing that fire. Now I didn't move. I know we was living on the farm, and my father brought us all up here to stay up to my grandmother's, you know, because I don't know, he was helping with the fire or something. And I can remember that yet. Now, that's a couple of years ago, you know, because I was 76 going on 77. So, but I can still remember that. And see, that was all burned off, and then that's where my father and his brother and his father, they started the grocery store. So that would be about, I don't know, it would be about 1925, something like that, in that area. I can't remember the exact date.
How was the train service in Dayton in those days? Was there a lot of people using the trains, or the fast trolley come through here? And
right there, now that trolley, that's a good thing. Now see, that's this house here. We walked down the lane, or across the field, and you got to the trolley station, which was right there where IGA is, you know, where the high tension lines are.
Right. That line used to come through that area.
That's right. I can remember going on the trolley. See, because my other grandfather, the one that lived in Trenton, he used to work on well, he didn't work on these trolleys, but he used to work on the trolleys in Trenton. And like when they used to come out to visit us, they'd come on the trolley out there, and then all they had to do was walk maybe, well, about a block, and it was in our house. And that it went quite regular. No, I mean not every hour, like that, but it went regular. And it did that for a good long time until something happened to the trestle over the railroad. See, there was a trestle over the railroad, and then they had to come around. See, in other words, they had to come up Culver Road and down Mama Junction Road, or vice versa, to go on the track. You understand? Because the trestle was, you know, it wasn't working right. I mean, it was deteriorated or something.
And the trestle was back in the woods back in here, or where
it was? Well, up there by Ventoons, you know, where. Let's see, it goes over, let's see, it would be about behind where Ernie Young's is there. You know where Ernie Young's is down Culver Road?
Yeah, that back in that area. Yeah, that's
right.
The wooded area back there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I know where that is.
Yeah. But when I was a kid, that I mean, it went all the way to Trenton.
And how far to New Brunswick?
New Brunswick. Down there by
NGA
Commercial Avenue.
Okay, yeah. And then
where the bus used to be, the bus barn used to be. It ain't no more though, it's houses now. I've been down there lately, and you wouldn't even know the public service garage was there. It's all houses now.
Did you ever take the train down the shore? Because I know some people said they used to get on the train and go down to the shore.
No, I never did. I took the train to Trenton. You know, you had to switch at Mama Junction. But you didn't have to get off the train, though. But the train run, well, maybe 3 or 4 a day, something like that. Not a lot, but 3 or 4 a day.
And you go.
If you had to change, you go But you could go all the way to Trenton without getting off.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've seen the change in New Brunswick also.
Oh yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, New Brunswick.
What was the main road in Dayton like in those your earlier days?
This was called Route 25
Route 25.
in my day. It was a state highway though.
Mm-hmm.
And well, this wasn't, traffic wasn't too heavy until like a Sunday afternoon in the summertime. You could hardly get across the corner of here because the trucks, you know, from South Jersey bringing the produce to the Newark or New York, you know, there wasn't big trucks like they have nowadays, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly smaller trucks, you know. But it'd be one right after the other. I mean, like on a Sunday afternoon, maybe from about 4 to 7 at night, it would be hard to get from Jamesburg Road to Mama Junction Road.
Mm.
But during, you know, normal times, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But see, in them times there was no light, so you just had to wait.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you used to get a lot of accidents down there where you live too.
On those curves.
On
Yeah.
that curve there. Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of accidents there all the time. Problems.
Must be the design of the road in that area.
Yeah. They're supposed to straighten it out, so they
Yes.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And were there any other stores besides your father's?
Oh yeah, a lot of stores here. Let's see, there was a Vanderveer store was only 2 or 3 doors down, roughly where the dentist is now.
Mm-hmm. What they sell there?
With groceries.
Groceries too?
Yeah. And then a few years later, maybe, like in the 40s, was down there by Demensky's. Do you remember when Demensky was down there?
I don't remember that. You remember that?
Before the...
Laszlo's.
No,
Laszlo's.
Laszlo's was raked by the school.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I remember that
This
one.
is across the road from Laszlo's. It was a place by the name of
Right.
Demensky's.
That little store that's still there.
That's right, yeah, the place is still there. Then there was another one down where Pierre's is, that was called Young's.
Yeah, I remember Youngstown when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And Butler's. And then,
Butler's later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then like over Mama Junction was Kish's,
Mm-hmm.
Emmons's,
Mm-hmm.
Pearson's. You remember Pearson's?
No, I remember Emmons and yeah, Mr. Pearson was a
Town clerk.
town clerk at the time when I used to get my fishing and hunting license there.
Yeah, and he used to ring the bell for the fire engine, too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just to call his number, I think. I mean, like if you was reporting a fire or something.
Mm-hmm.
He had like a store right there where the firehouse is now.
And what did you do for entertainment in Dayton? Did they have any movie theaters or anything like that? Or?
No, I can't remember nothing like that. Let's see. Well, in the wintertime, you always went skating. There was always a pond where Indian Fields is, that dentation there in the front. That always had water in. It's dried up now, but I don't know where it goes, but it goes someplace. Then there was always another one down where Doshers. That would be where the Hungarian farm was. You know where that is?
No.
Right there by where 130 and Fresh Pond Road comes.
Oh yeah,
big, big
yes.
place there.
Okay.
It's malls.
Yeah, there's. I think
Where
there's still,
Mall's got his place on
yeah, I
the
think there's
side.
still a pond there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was always had water in. I mean, you always. I mean, the one down where Mall's is, you could. I mean, this was a big.
That was pretty deep. That one.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't get drowned.
No, but it's a lot deeper than the other one.
Oh yeah, yeah. But this one always had water in.
Mm-hmm.
Strange thing, it's no water. Yeah, there's no water here now.
Was did the Doshers have a farm?
Yes, this would be Bill Dosher's mother and father.
Okay, Bill's mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also were they didn't someone tell us they were ice people with the name of Dosher?
Yeah, well, that's what he used to do. See, with the pond, they used to cut it. You know,
Okay.
they saw it into blocks, then you take it and put it in your
Fridge.
in your
Icebox.
No, you got to store it now.
Yeah, you have to put hay between it. And
That's right.
Yeah.
In other words,
Okay.
you got to save it till it gets to the summertime, because you only get it when it's in the pond. So now you got to put it in your barn, insulate it, put hay on it to keep it to when you need it in the summertime. This is the hard way to do it, but they used to do it.
Yeah.
People used to do it. There's a special saw for that. I don't know. I was working down to the museum there. We had one. There was one down there. They saw the blocks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it don't look like the easiest way in the world.
No.
Looks like it's rather involved to me, but
Must have been dangerous work too when you figure you're cutting that ice out of the water, you know. And
well, I guess you wouldn't drown there, but
Yeah.
you'd sure get wet.
yeah, and cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I just knew that they used to come around and deliver ice. I never knew that people
Well, see,
would
when the
store it
man
and
come around to
keep it.
deliver it, well, he used to manufacture that artificially, you know. But I'm talking about a farmer. See, he does it well, the hard way, but the cheapest way. You know? In other words, he'd get it for free, you know.
Right, and then they like either have a hole in the ground or something where they would pack it in and nice and tight with the straw between it so you get it apart again. But that's the way it kept it insulated, so that all summer long they just kept taking it out of that same spot. And then after a while, then you have nothing. You have to by the fall, I guess.
That's right.
Now, in Monmouth Junction, there was the Bennett and Clayton coal and fuel,
Yes.
and
That's where Jip was.
right. But before that, they sold to the farmer. They sold seed, and the coal
Yes.
cars used to come in there for to deliver to.
Potatoes too, they used to say.
Right. And now in Deans, it was the Werners. In Dayton, did you
Was-
either use Werner or?
No, it was Dylan Tash. It was
Okay.
the one that's down here now, named Lebanon, I think. It was Dylan Tash. Well,
Now Lebanon. I don't know what they're in.
Lebanon Chemical,
Okay.
right by the railroad tracks.
right, right.
So they were like the providers for the farmer.
Yeah, well, they, years ago, the farmer never had everything. In other words, like the farmer would, well, he'd raise potatoes. Well, he didn't have a grader and all that jazz, so he would have to pick the potatoes, load them, and take them down here because like Dylan Tash or Ben and Clayton, they had the grader. See, later on, I mean, in later years, each farmer had their own grader, but years ago, they
They
did
had-
things on a smaller scale.
Right, they had a horse and wagon maybe, and a
Right,
couple
right.
people working, and they'd pick them and take them down there to
Take
grade
it
them and
down there
sort
to
them.
grade them, or the same with the straw, or with like the wheat, the oats, the rye. They would take it, you know, in the wagon down there, and then they'd stack it, and then the guy would bring the thrasher there to get the little grains out, you know.
Right.
I mean, each farmer didn't have it like they got now,
Right,
combine.
right.
And those three areas were by the railroad, so there was
That's
another
right, yeah.
reason that the railroad was so important.
Oh yeah,
They had a couple bad fires down in that.
oh yeah. I've
Years
been there
ago.
when well, they burned almost all of it a couple times.
I remember when I was a kid, there was some bad fires down there. Because all
Well,
the dust from the grain and everything.
And the fertilizer too,
Right.
that makes like an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
It a little one becomes a big one pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Headley's had the apple orchard.
Yes.
And what other type of farming in Dayton that you can think of? Just mostly wheats and grains and potatoes and no small.
Richter always had. Now Richter is down there by. Well, where you go into the new Summerhill,
Right.
towards
Opposite.
Deans. There's an old house there, right, along the road.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Richter's place was behind that. It was maybe 70, 80 acres. And he
That
had
was the Richter farm.
Yeah, he had apples, and he always had a cider press.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
always,
didn't know that.
always made. Just passed away not too long ago. Warren, He lived up, you remember where Rollins was? Lou Rollins? You don't remember that?
No.
That would be across the road from Summerhill. There's two houses there,
Okay.
right? There's one big square one, like, well, that's where
Okay.
young Warren Richter passed away not too long ago. Well, not too long, it's 3 or 4 years ago, it's like this, you know.
Right. Oh yeah. I know. Time. Kiki and I are finding the same thing now. We're retired.
Well, I'm older than Butch, so I can remember farther back. But, it's good to hear that just how things operated around the township.
Everything was on a much smaller scale, you know what I mean? I mean, like a farm was, farmer had 60, 70, 80 acres, he was big time. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's in the hundreds, or it don't pay for that $50,000 tractor. You know?
Right.
But none of the farmers were small produce, raised small produce, and now that seems to be the trend of the farmers around here. They're into the small produce.
That's right.
And flowers and
that's right.
Shrubs.
It's more the retail too. See, years ago it was mostly all wholesale. You know.
Did they have any big farmer markets here, or was it Hightstown or?
Hightstown was an auction market.
Right.
I remember my uncle was one of the founders of the Hightstown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was an interesting place.
Yeah, I used to like to go there in the summertime and watch them. You know.
You bring your load in, and they bid your load. You put a basket up and then they bid that load, and you sell the whole load right there. And they give you a piece of paper, and you get paid a week or two later.
That's right.
I used to do that, kid.
But they take a sample off your load. You know, if you've got 20 baskets of tomatoes or peppers or what it is, you got to give them a sample. You know. Right. Then the guy bids on the 20, whatever it is. And then you just drive over to his truck and put it on. Yeah. I used to like to go up there because that would be my uncle. And he used to spend a day with me.
Yeah.
Now, which uncle would that be?
That would be Julia Davison. That would be my father's sister's husband. Yeah. Well, you know, Marion. Didn't you? You was looking at a house, Harold Skank and Marion.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, that's would be Julia's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You were looking at that house.
Yes, I was. I was thinking I was going to buy it, and I did some research and stuff, and then we just couldn't swing it at the time. I built the one because I could do it a lot cheaper.
She taught me in school.
She did? Marion did? Well, in later years, you must have went to Mama Junction.
Right.
Yeah, well, then, as soon as my aunt retired in Penn's Neck, then Marion got her job. That's why she quit in South Brunswick. And she retired in Penn's Neck. That's where she retired.
Yeah, that house had a real nice garage behind it, too. That was a real good selling point on that house. That nice storage garage back there.
It was 2.5 easy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was a beautiful garage.
Yeah.
We just couldn't swing it, that's all. It was just a little more out of our range, being newly married at the time.
Yeah, you know, she was just here about 2 or 3 weeks ago for the Grange 125th anniversary.
Right.
She lives down in Tom's River.
Oh.
Lives with her daughter. But she's 80 years old. That's Marion, yeah.
That was 20 years ago. 22 years ago I was looking at that house.
Yeah.
A lot of memories come back. Yeah.
Would you believe that when I went to Dayton school, right? Did you know the Dowgan that lived in the brick house down here? Frank Dowgan? It would be, it's still there, down past the garage. There's one house that's been there for years, a red brick one, small bungalow.
I knew Ralph and
well, this would be one of Ralph's older brothers.
Oh, okay, I didn't know him, but I knew his brother.
Frank Dowgan, he married this lady named Mrs. Green. My father had her as a teacher. She was my 8th grade teacher in here in this school, and my son had her as a substitute.
Isn't
This
that
is no lie.
3 generations.
That was
All one teacher.
Molly.
Huh?
Molly.
Right, you got it. You've been around too, see that? You'll be giving away your age pretty soon.
Well, you probably have a good idea of this right now.
You know, I like to kid some people, you know, especially some women, you know, they like to hide their age. Well, see, I can't come. I bet you I can come within 3 or 4 years, though.
Yeah.
You know.
But my brother went to 8th grade. I'm maybe 7th and 8th grade in Dayton, from Monmouth Junction. So you just see education coming full circle.
Oh, yeah.
Overcrowding and Monmouth Junction kids going into Dayton school, and he liked Mrs. Dowden very much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can remember when the kids would act up. They talk about nowadays the teachers. I can remember her. She would grab a kid by the neck, and that kid's feet didn't touch the floor, and she would march him out.
It wasn't your neck now, was it?
No, it wasn't mine. But I can remember her holding the kid, and the kid is not even touching the floor. And she was no spring chicken, but she taught me. But I don't know.
Yeah, my sister-in-law worked in the Errickson store, Agnes Shoe.
Oh yeah, I know Agnes. See, I used to live next door to her when we lived in Deans.
Right.
Yeah.
How I went to school with her.
No, she's a little older than I am, I think.
She went to New Brunswick.
But she went, yeah. I think she was out before I started, I believe. She had a brother, John, too.
Right.
Johnny. And a sister,
Mary.
Mary.
Mary's my age.
I took Mary for her license. Yeah, her father wouldn't take her. Did you know her father?
Oh yes.
John?
Yes.
He didn't want to get no license, you know, so I'm living next door now. I think it was in the service then. And I was home, and so she asked me to take her, so I took her down to Freehold. Yeah, she lives in the Monroe Township, yeah. I haven't seen her in quite a while.
She's a farmer's wife.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wholesale farmer.
Yeah. Etch.
Yes.
Yeah, Oh, I know her. You know, I seen Agnes not too long ago in a IGA. I don't think she knowed me though. I spoke to her. I didn't. It didn't act like she even knew who it was. Her daughter lives with her now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I was sure it was her. You know. I tell you the truth, I can't see too good now, and sometimes people know me, and they say, Mr. Errickson, I ain't got a clue.
Well, I can see pretty well, and I have the same feeling about it. I know the face, but I can't.
You feel like a fool, too,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You don't like to mistake people.
That's right. You feel like a fool.
Well,
I think we've covered about everything.
I want to thank you for your time.
Okay.
Yes,
I hope I helped you out.
Oh, you
did a very good
much.
job.
Brought a lot of good memories back for us, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
And the beginning of the history of the farm is...
Yes, very important.
So that's what helps.
Yeah, because a lot of the things at farms nobody's ever mentioned at all.
Like that it was the Headley farm, and that the
Well,
Richter
that there
farm.
Weather Hill down there, that was my grandmother. She lived there. I know. That was an Everett farm as far as I was, in my lifetime. That was John Everett's farm. That was my grandmother was an Everett. So in other words, John Everett would be her brother. But I don't know too much about that. That place was pretty well messed up though when they started to work on it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a darn shame, you know.
Looks pretty good now, though.
Oh yeah, it's in good shape.
Original shingles left on the original boards instead of the aluminum, but it was probably
I think it was a little
too far gone.
too expensive to
Mhm.
redo it like that, you know.
But had it been taken care of, it wouldn't have been.
That wouldn't have been like that, that's right. Well,
That's progress.
that's the way it is.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you
Okay.
again.
Your son was right.
Morning.
This is the house you were born in.
This is down by the high tension lines of George's Road. Roughly behind the annex for the Monmouth Junction Fire Company in Dayton.
The old Schwartz farm.
That's right. It was owned by Eddie and Augie Schwartz, and they had a junkyard roughly where IGA is now.
Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. This is a picture of...
This is a picture of my father and mother in the store at the Five Corners. About 1950s, something like that.